Chris Foster, Fox News.
NASA will do a fuel test today on the upcoming mission to the moon when 4 astronauts will fly around. And Wednesday, the House will hold a NASA hearing.
The moon and Mars will be the focus when the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology will take up the NASA Reauthorization Act of 2026. Chairman Brian Babin said the reauthorization reaffirms America's leadership in space by advancing human exploration. President Trump has made it a goal to land the first astronauts on Mars in the future. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are mixed before the opening bell this hour. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
This is Viewpoint, a presentation of the News and Public Affairs Department of AM 1490 WHPB. We welcome your input on the issues of the day. You can contact us on the Viewpoint line by calling 875-1490. The opinions expressed by our callers and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the management and staff of AM 1490 WHPB. And now, here's today's Viewpoint.
And good morning and welcome into the Monday morning Viewpoint. For this Monday morning, February the 2nd, 2026, I'm your host, Randy Williams. Good morning. How do you feel? 334-875-1490 and 334-875-1492 are the numbers to call if you have comments. If you have comments, I don't know if I want to say questions or not. How do you feel this morning? How was your weekend? I tell you what, we had a cold weekend, and it looks like it's going to warm up at least for a few days. You know, Poxitani Phil, the winter predictor in Pennsylvania, saw his shadow, and so that means 6 more weeks of winter, at least in Pennsylvania, huh? And so I don't know. I hope we warm up a little bit, but again, that's something I can't control the weather, right? We just have to kind of go along with it and just take it one day at a time. How do you feel this morning? Now let's see. Last week, Friday, I didn't cover a few things that I had planned. I was going to, but to make a long story short, I missed the Law Enforcement Annual Appreciation Day. I'm sure they didn't miss me. You know, it's about the first responders and law enforcement. What I will try and do is see if I can get a hold of any information related to who was honored or who received awards on Friday. I missed them, and I missed something else. There was a couple of things that have happened. Saturday morning, I think there was an event to honor Mark Miles, where there were several people, I understand, that met at the Performing Arts Center. I believe they were targeting young men, and I didn't make that. And there was one other event that I didn't make last week. So anyway, to make a long story short, but like I tell you a lot of times, if I'm going to do one or the other, sometimes both. I'll either help you get the word out about a particular event when it comes to community events, and I'll try and cover it, or I'll cover it. I may not, do as much pre-publicity. Usually I'll do one or the other, and sometimes both. So if I don't always make it to a particular event, it could be for any number of reasons, including, I know what it was. It was the Veterans Fair. I didn't make it to that either. But, those events are, but certainly wanted to make sure that I know people know about it, right? And so if you chose to not go, that would have been a choice, or if you chose to go, if you're a veteran. And so but I was plenty busy, I can tell you that, preparing for some other things that are getting ready that are coming up, right? Let's see here. Now, what I noticed is that this is the third week for the Alabama legislature, and I think it's also the first day of Mardi Gras. not that one has anything to do with the other, but this is the third week. Well, the last week was the third. This is the fourth week, I believe, is what we're getting ready to go into for the Alabama legislature. But I'm going to go over some of the bills passed last week. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's good to stay on top of these laws because they do affect us. Start with the House. House Bill or HB 297, sponsored by Representative Thomas Jackson, a Democrat from Thomasville, alters, rearranges, and extends the boundary and corporate limits in the city of Monroeville and Monroe County. The bill passed 12-0. It moves now to the Senate. There's a number of bills and changes that have to be approved by the House and the Senate, even if it's something that's been done locally. The legislative delegation has to be in agreement, and it has to be voted on by the full House and Senate. So a lot of times, there are things that we might want to do locally that if they don't pass the House and the Senate, it doesn't become law. But that's the situation where it did. HB 41, sponsored by Representative Matt Simpson, a Republican of Daphne. This is one that is controversial for some. It expands the death penalty to include rape, sodomy, and sexual torture of a minor under 12 years old. The bill passed 73-6. It now moves to the Senate. There were some concerns about whether or not it will be able to pass the constitutional muster test, whether or not it will be able to get through the Supreme Court. We'll just have to wait and see if it passes the Senate. HB 78, sponsored by Representative Gina Ross, a Republican from Gunnersville, limits screen time usage for children ages birth to 5 years old. The bill passed 101-1. It moves to the Senate. I wonder how they're going to enforce that. How do you know whether or not a child between the ages of birth and 5 years old is watching a screen? Then you've got to get into their home, I would think, huh? Anyway, HB 149, sponsored by Representative Jim Hill, Republican from Oldenville, designates the Board of Commissions of the Alabama State Bar as an agency of the judicial branch. The bill passed 103-0. It moves to the Senate. HB 56, sponsored by Rolanda Hollis, a Democrat of Birmingham, requires auto cyclists to wear protective headgear and shoes in compliance with motorcycle protective gear requirements when operating or riding. The bill passed 62-24. It moves to the Senate. I far too many times see people on recreational vehicles and motorcycles without helmets. And it is reckless because if something should happen, if you hit a rock and you fall off your vehicle and your head hits the ground, the helmet is designed to protect you from having a head injury. But if you don't have anything on your head, you got a problem. Far too many people ignore when they're riding recreational vehicles. I see four-wheelers, three-wheelers, and two-wheelers. People just riding with no helmets. And I'm afraid for them, especially if they have children with them. But anyway, so this bill, it will be another law that can be enforced for a person not wearing protective gear. If it passes the Senate, it passed the House. HB 181, sponsored by Representative Rhett Marquez, Republican from Enterprise, require individuals who annually dredge over 1 million cubic yards of material in a coastal area to use 70% of that material for projects, including fish and wildlife habitat development, human recreation, and industrial and commercial. Thank you. And commercial activities. Okay. The bill passed 97 to nothing. It moves to the Senate. HB 277, sponsored by Representative Margie Wilcox, a Republican from Mobile, authorizes oyster aquaculture license holders to shuck, harvest, and serve oysters from the aquaculture facility for product tasting. That bill passed 102 to 1. It moves to the Senate. HB 110, sponsored by a Democrat, Ontario Tillman from Bessemer, requires the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency to offer residents the option to have a digital driver license or non-driver identification card alongside a physical copy of those cards. The bill passed 93 to 3. It moves to the Senate. HB 66, sponsored by Representative Ontario Tillman, a Democrat from Bessemer, requires the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency to establish a method for individuals to voluntarily disclose on their identification that they have an invisible disability, including cognitive disorders, mental illnesses, and communication impediments. The bill passed 103 to nothing, and it moves to the Senate. Parents of children reeking of marijuana could be reported to police under another proposed law. The Alabama legislature passed some of these bills in the first week of their session. For instance, the Alabama House passed a bill that could end the University of Alabama School of Social Work. And that's something that we're watching. After a councilman was stopped on the sidewalk, there's an Alabama bill that would make assaulting a politician a felony. There's HB 114, sponsored by Representative Chris Sells of Greenville, Republican. It extends the current payment period of assessments made on illegally imported or transported motor fuel for 30 to 60 days. The bill passed 102 to nothing. It moves to the Senate. HB 11, sponsored by Representative Philip Pettis, Republican from Killen, prohibits a judge from granting youthful offender status to individuals 16 and older who are charged with murder or capital murder. That bill passed 94 to nothing. Yeah, I guess as our assailants are getting younger, it appears, in some of these horrific violent crimes. In the Senate, Senate Bill 136, sponsored by Senator Chris Elliott, a Republican from Josephine, extends the Alabama Massage Therapy Licensing Board until October 1st of 2027 and places it under the oversight of the Alabama Department of Public Health. That bill passed 33 to nothing, and now it goes to the House. SB 158, sponsored by Senator Randy Price of Opelika, a Republican, requires public high schools to designate a school day for military recruiters to administer the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test for students who want to take it. That bill passed 33 to nothing. It goes to the House. SB 22, sponsored by Senator Sam Gavan of Huntsville, a Republican, gives the President pro tem an explicit appointment to the Alabama Commission on uniform state laws. It passed 33 to nothing. Then there is the SB 137, sponsored by Senator Steve Livingston, a Republican from Scottsboro, codifying the Alabama Resilience Council, created by an executive order in 2023 that facilitates interactions between state and local government in the private sector to proactively address damages to Alabama infrastructure. That bill passed 33 to nothing, and it goes to the House. SB 66, sponsored by Senator Arthur Orr, Republican from Decatur, requires that the Alabama of Corrections to check for outstanding warrants when an inmate is up for parole while they are still in custody, and serve the warrant before the inmate is released. That bill passed 33 to nothing. It goes to the House. Sounds like a common sense bill. One of the reasons why they're having such an uproar in Minnesota with the illegal immigrants is because the Department of Homeland Security or the Department of Justice is accusing local law officials in Minneapolis of not turning over their inmates who they know are in the country illegally in that are convicted felons from other countries. Instead of turning them over to ICE, they're releasing them back out on the street. And ICE is trying to get them to, they say that, the difference between two officers escorting an inmate that's already in custody is much safer for their officers and the general public, as opposed to a team, 6 to 8 or 10 officers having to hunt for a person. Well, this SB 66 is a similar spirit, but it's saying that, instead of waiting until after a person has been released out on parole to check for a warrant, they check for a warrant before they release them. And then he's already or she's already in custody, so you don't have to go through all the drama. You just don't let them go. SB 109, sponsored by Senator Chris Elliott, a Republican from Josephine, would allow people that use their cars for rideshare services to enter an agreement with another rideshare driver, known as peer-to-peer car sharing. The bill passed 33 to nothing. It goes to the House. SB 77, sponsored by Senator Josh Carnley, Republican from Enterprise, extends the 911 board until October 1st of 2028 and changes the members' appointment manner to where they can serve until the Alabama Senate can reject their appointment. The bill passed 33 to nothing. It goes to the House for approval. And SB 163, sponsored by Senator Kirk Hatcher of Montgomery, a Democrat, adopts the Aesthetics Licensure Compact, allowing estheticians to get a license through a multi-state program. That bill passed 33 to nothing. That's a lot of unanimous votes. That's interesting. And I think there's a few more bills. Yeah, there's a lot more that have been passed as well. And so let's take this break, and I'll be back with more after these messages. Oh, boy.
We're with Barry Parker and our friends at Reliable Chevrolet and GMC in Selma, serving the area for 80 years. And it's a brand new year, Barry.
That's right, George. It's hard to believe that 2026 is here, but we're ready to kick it off and get it started. We invite you to come down and see us in the market for a new Chevrolet or GMC. We have got the inventory from trucks, from your small trucks all the way up to the heavy duty. Same thing with your SUVs, whatever you're looking for when it comes to a new Chevrolet or GMC. we invite you to come by and see us.
Of course, when you're talking about new Chevrolets and new GMCs, you've got to be talking about everything from the Trax to the Equinox, right?
And that is correct, and all the way up to the Yukons and Tahoes, Suburbans, Yukon XLs. Folks, whatever you're looking for when it comes to a new Chevrolet or GMC, we invite you to come by and see us.
Barry, when you're talking about reliable, you're talking about great service with just about any name brand that needs service. You can do it all except for warranty work on the non-GM brands, right?
That's right. Warranty or recalls we can do on non-GM product, but everything else from oil change, tire rotation, new tires, brake batteries, belts, hoses, transmission, engine, whatever you're driving, we want to do your service work right here. And George, don't forget about the free oil change when you get to that fifth oil change. We want to get to know you and your family. We want you to become part of the Reliable family here at Reliable Chevrolet GMC, located in downtown Selma, 14 Florence Street. Stop by and see us or give us a call at 872-2337 or check us out on our website at reliablegmc.com.
1490 WHBB. A lot of these other,
For you and your family. Protect yourself and your loved one.
Yep.
Jim Creech at Pilker McBride Drug Company wants to advise everyone that now is a great time to vaccinate. Come in and talk to our pharmacist about vaccines for you and your family. Protect yourself and your loved ones from flu, pneumonia, shingles, and whooping cough. Also, ask them about nutrient depletions from medications that could cause you to lose important nutrients from your body. And stay healthy through this upcoming season. Pilker McBride Drug, 101 Broad Street in Selma.
1490 WHBB. Good morning. 334-875-1490 and 1492 are the numbers to call if you wish. So many of the other bills are, a lot of these bills are specific to individual counties. And again, in Alabama, there's certain laws that cannot be changed locally without the approval of the full House and Senate. So there's a number of those type of bills that have passed. But one or two others I do want to bring to your attention. SB 9 was sponsored by Senator Gerald Allen of Cottonville, a Republican. It bans vaping in all indoor public spacings. The bill passed 31-1, and of course, vaping is I guess that's very similar to some of the smoking laws. You can't smoke in public buildings, and so vaping is quickly approaching being considered like some of the tobacco products. SB 41, sponsored by Senator Keith Kelly of Anniston, a Republican, forbids any person convicted of elder abuse from retaining property interests in or receiving benefits or bequests from a will from a victim's estate. That bill passed 32-0, and now it goes to the House. And so that is just a sample of some of the bills that have already passed in the House and the Senate that are going between the two. Viewpoint, you're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Randy. I had my vaccine, flu and COVID last week. And you just don't bounce back as quickly as you normally do from these vaccinations. But I just want to share that with people. We still need to get them. We're being reminded all the time on the radio. And sometimes we hesitate. I know I have been hesitating about a lot of my medication. Remember, I discussed that with you once before. Another thing I wanted to mention, you talked about the Mardi Gras in Mobile. To our surprise, when everything I had gone down to Mobile for the Mardi Gras, we saw Keith's high school band marching in it. I knew a lot of the children because my daughter had graduated from Keith, and we lived in that area for a while. So it was excitement for us
when you should, or if you should or not, do. But I always say, check with your physician first, and hopefully you have one. And if you don't have one, it's a good idea to find one, huh? Okay, that call is gone. What else? I was surprised to see the situation in Atlanta this weekend, and I'm referring to Tuskegee and Morehouse, right? A Tuskegee and Morehouse game, basketball game. The Tuskegee lost, but they're in Atlanta, and it appears that when the game ended, the football team players from Morehouse became aggressive towards Tuskegee's basketball team and their parents, which in the time that they did it and the way that they did it, according to the reports, is against the rules. They're not supposed to interact with the teams and the fans of the opposing team during the exchange of greetings and handshakes. And so the coach was concerned because he didn't want it to get out of hand and turn into a violent incident. And so he asked a police officer to enforce the rule, to not let them do it. And instead of enforcing the rule, they handcuffed him, the basketball head coach, Benji Taylor. He's been a coach for like 35 years. He wasn't arrested or charged with anything, but he was handcuffed. And they can't call it a racial incident because it was a black police officer that did it. And it's just kind of curious. I sure hope that it doesn't turn out, if it turns out that the police officer had a tie to Morehouse in any way, there's going to be a problem. But anyway, Coach Taylor has hired some two high-powered law firms. Attorney Harry Daniels, who has a reputation for being a renowned national civil rights attorney, and attorneys Gregory Williams and Gerald Griggs. And, civil rights does not always involve race. Civil rights involves civil rights, and whether or not your rights as a citizen have been violated. Civil rights as a citizen, and you have to be a citizen first, right, for your civil rights to be violated. And so there's a number of cases that have gone into the civil rights arena, but not necessarily racial in nature. And this appears to be one of them. And we'll see what happens, but it's a bad move and sounds like a bad judgment call on the part of the officer. I don't know what they could have possibly have been thinking, but it looks bad to be for a visiting team to be aggressively pursued by the home team's students and not be discouraged from aggressive behavior. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it is what it is, and so we'll see how that turns out. Also, I've been watching this situation with Don Lemon, and it appears to me that he has gotten too close to the story. And I say that it's a term that used to be, I don't hear very often anymore. I don't hear people using it. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means that it's become so commonplace until it's not even it's almost not even a story anymore. But I referenced one of the worst situations that I know of, and I was in Philly when it was happening, was Mumia Abdul-Jamal, black reporter. In fact, he was at a station, he was at one of the stations I worked for in Philly I got there right after right after him, a little bit too close for comfort. But he got involved with an organization called Move, and he was covering the story, and somehow he ends up in the property as it was under siege by Philadelphia police. Now, Philadelphia police had a terrible reputation during that time. I believe the mayor was Frank Rizzo. You talk about brutal, they could be really brutal, and there was a lot of racial issues or problems that took place during that time. But anyway, during this particular event, I think it was in October, and I believe it was in the early 80s. And a police officer was killed. 9 people were charged for Move, and Mumia was one of those people. He was charged with murder of a police officer, and he was convicted and was on death row for about 20 years. They finally were able to get a federal judge to overturn the death sentence, but it was converted to life in prison without parole. And Mumia wrote a few books. But the point is, as a journalist, he got too close to the story. And a lot of people believe he was set up and that he had nothing to do with the death of the officer because from what I remember, and it's been years, hadn't really looked at that case in years, but from what I remember, the problem was the officer was shot from behind. He was shot in the back of the head, and Move was in front of him. So the people saying, well, how did he get shot in the back if the people that they were attacking was in front of him? Those are the kind of conspiracy theories and sometimes miscarriages of judgment that take place in some of these big cities. So it's not like it doesn't happen, is my point. And so journalists have to be careful. The other thing I looked at, I thought about, when in Marion, Alabama, in 1965, the night that Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot, there was a reporter from NBC, I think Richard Valeriani, was attacked by, I don't believe he was attacked by the state troopers. He was attacked by some of the local citizens, and allegedly were Klansmen who did not want the nation to see what they were doing, didn't want the media reporting what was happening in Marion or Alabama, period, especially as it related to voting rights, because during that time, of course, mainstream media was a lot more sensitive to those kinds of issues and tended to be, in some cases objective, in some cases not, but they did at least allow and show what was happening. And there were a lot of local residents that did not want that. Well, the same thing is happening, I understand, in Minneapolis. There's certain networks are being targeted, and it's dangerous to be a journalist in Minneapolis if you're not on their side, if you're reporting what they're doing, or if you're a photographer or a videographer and you're showing the rioters that are throwing ice water bottles and bricks and spitting on law enforcement. They don't want people to see that. And so when there's some media and journalists that they're friendly to that won't show that, so they don't have a problem with them, but some of the reporters who are being attacked. And I don't see much of a difference between what they're doing in Minneapolis with some of those reporters than what was happening in 1965 rural Alabama. Be back with more right after this.
It should be. At First Copper Bank means you never have to worry about the season or the weather with online banking. It's always there and always on, 24/7, 365, even on holidays.
I'm Richard Walters, president of First Cahaba Bank, here to let you know that all of our online banking resources have been invaluable to our First Cahaba customers. Although our lobbies are open, personal and business customers have discovered how convenient and easy it has become to manage financial resources without having to come inside the bank. And all of our online services, including mobile banking app, are free. Visit firstcahaba.com to get all of the information, or feel free to call any of our locations in Selma, Troy, or Gulf Shores for any questions or information. Banking the way it should be at First Cahaba Bank means we are constantly focused on the very latest technology for customer convenience and overall satisfaction. We would love for you to join our growing community bank family. First Cahaba Bank, NIC, Equal Housing Lender.
1490 WHBB Viewpoint, you're on the air. Good morning. How are you?
I don't see comparisons. Philadelphia and Don. I know it was a different time and date, but Don was just simply telling the story. I mean, he didn't sit up there and block somebody. He didn't do anything. He interviewed like all of them do it. But it amazes me that you have a problem with what he's doing. And that guy, Nick Shirley, I don't know if he's a reporter or a podcaster, but he was going around to daycare centers, putting on the doors and stuff. And you know how many times I've been there? Daycare centers are always locked.
Well, I'm not referring to Shirley, although he's a podcaster. He's being credited with bringing to light the billions of dollars that are missing. But he's a podcaster. What I'm referring to are, well, for instance, it's on the record that there have been some Fox News reporters and video photographers who have been attacked and have had rocks thrown at and their vehicles attacked because of their reporting.
And I agree with you. I don't, if you catch somebody, just like I said about the guy that got killed, if you should have been spit on off, if you hit the cars and all that, kick him behind it, you can kick him behind the jail. But what I'm saying is right now is, you are discounting this surety guy going up to daycare centers and trying to get in there. And I said, no. I thought school and stuff was supposed to be so secure and stuff, and people don't supposed to come in and do.
You must not. Do you remember? Do you remember the original 60 Minutes? And how many times they did the same thing? They would knock on doors, and people were trying their best to get away from them because they didn't want them to do the story.
No, this is a daycare center, and there's a difference between putting business in or something like that.
No, that's aggressive reporting, is what it is, and you know, and you got to. I wouldn't advise. You better know what you're doing when you do it. Or be prepared to defend yourself. But it doesn't stop it from being aggressive reporting.
And the thing about it is, if you go back and look at this thing about this Nick Shirley, you don't know that they've been investigating those people up in Minnesota and Minneapolis since 2021, since Bush administration got in. They arrested 90 people. I mean, this is going on. This is a talking point that Trump man wanted to put out there to put fear in people and an excuse to go in there. But I'm back to Don Lemon now. They just have a problem with him, but I didn't tell you about it. They showed the guy. I don't care. I don't know if the podcast, I don't know if he got a jury or something or what. But he's going to daycares and put him on doors and try to break in.
The daycares were closed. That's one. But I'm not going to look. I'm not trying to defend Mr. Shirley. I didn't even know who he was, but the allegations against Don Lemon were that he was a participant and he was covered. He was doing both. Allegations, allegedly. I don't know the facts.
But this should have been watched.
By watching which news organization are you saying is showing this?
If you watch anything, and you put that on his own podcast, and every news thing across the country showed it, right? He said at least 5 or 6 times he's not a part of it. He told the pastor and all that, didn't let no other. He's just here covering his story. He didn't rock anybody. He didn't do anything wrong.
Well, you didn't hear what I said. I said allegedly. He's accused. And accused means innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, this is targeted, man, and you know it.
Whether it's targeted or not is not, for me, is not the issue. That may be the way you see it. I see it quite differently.
Oh, no, don't go interrupt me. If you said whether he's targeted or not doesn't make a difference. But for the last 4 years, all they now said was DOD was targeting Trump. So what is it?
What are you talking about now?
For the last 4 years, the DOD was targeting Trump, trying to put him in jail.
Well, that anybody with a brain knows that that's what was happening. Unless you just want to lie to yourself. Anybody with common sense could see that.
Did Trump commit those crimes, Randy?
Well, evidently not.
Yes, he did.
Well, why would you? Has he been convicted of it, or were they thrown out?
Let me ask you another question. Did Trump have tens of thousands of documents down there in Mar-a-Lago that he wasn't supposed to have?
I don't know.
Yes, he did.
Well, I'm glad you know. Then you need to get with the Department of Justice and turn your evidence over.
I haven't seen it. Is there pictures?
Look, like I said, you're talking to the wrong person. You know, I don't have the confidence that you do in mainstream media. I don't believe everything I see and hear.
I'm just trying to put things on both sides. Remember, you can be upset one thing and all the country.
We have different experiences and a different background, my friend.
Them have a different viewpoint, period. Now,
Thank you.
Miss Cole, she was dead right. You've been on the wrong side of history for so long.
You say what?
You've been on the wrong side of history.
Okay, go ahead.
You think it's funny, but
it is funny to me.
People like you and Fox News and Max and all those people, that's what you're showing this country because you won't tell the people the truth.
No, you don't want to. You can't handle the truth.
No, you don't. You see, the thing about it, you don't even look up facts. Right?
You can't handle the truth.
Anything I said, all you had to do was look it up, and you will find out it was true.
No, I don't have time to go down your rabbit hole. When I have a common sense tells me I know what I'm looking at, and like I say, I don't know what your experiences are, but I know what I see, and I know common sense can tell me when there's a dead cat on the line. Now, you can be in denial if you want because you support a particular agenda. That's not what I choose to do.
You go again, every time I try to make a point about something, you always interrupted. I've been asking you for the last 2 to 3 months, tell me what I was wrong about and I would admit it.
What did I just tell you? I don't have time to go down your rabbit hole. You state your opinion and be through with it. I don't have time to prove and disprove what you're saying.
It's my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's your opinion. Fine.
This ain't facts, my brother. There's a certain thing called facts.
Well, that's fine. If you think they're facts, fine. What do if you want me to, you know what? I get paid to do research. You're going to pay me to do it? Well, then if you're not going to pay me to do it, don't ask me to use my professional experience and don't ask me to do something that I get paid for free and expect me to do it. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. Plus, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and I know what I'm going to find. Well, anyway, go ahead.
You are in the public eye, Randy, and you are out here on the air when he's talking to the public. It should be your obligation and your morals to tell them the truth.
Thank you. That's exactly what I do, whether you like it or not. You can't handle the truth.
No, you can't handle the facts. Point blank. You can't. This man here is running amok in this country, man. He got to deal with going after everybody. The Epstein stuff he's supposed to put out. He ain't trying to be redacted. This ain't like almost everything.
And I guess the 10 million people that came over the border, that wasn't real either, huh?
Hey, forget the pedophile. It's common drug dealers and fraudsters and this and all other. But you know, right there in Minnesota and say, well, you going after fraud. What about the ones that let out again?
Well, so now, do you think that there were illegal aliens that came in across the Mexican border the last several years, up until the new Trump administration?
Yes, I told you the border was a problem.
You said you admitted it after about 2 years. You did. Yeah. When it became obvious, when the rest of mainstream media were forced to admit it.
Please. You just answer my question then. If this man here is going after all these drug dealers, and he's going after all these criminals, and if he's going after all these fraudsters and this, that, and all that, well, why is he letting all of them out of prison and community system?
Well, again, that's over my pay grade. I don't know. How about that? You can't accept me saying I don't know because you want me to buy into whatever your theory is. I don't know. I don't know about what you're referring to.
Oh, y'all never heard about him calling all these Bitcoin people and the president of Honduras who had brought 400 million tons of cocaine in?
Well, how about the dozens of people that President Biden, drug dealers, that he just pardoned on his way out with an auto pen?
Biden did not pardon any drug dealers. Come find it, folks.
Well, again, I don't have time to be going down your rabbit hole.
This man been back in office. He's been trying to foster the Bitcoin people to get off.
That's his prerogative, sir. He's the president. Now, any president that's their privilege.
They got that dog with a ship home, you know, and he ain't got about 30 years. Come came in and gave him part. He was selling drugs and all kinds of stuff over God will.
Well, I could go. I'm not again. I don't look. I don't. You can't accept me saying I don't. I'm not familiar with the facts. I don't know the facts in the case.
To be honest, that's just the problem that I have. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
If you want to pay me, I still wouldn't accept it because I don't work for everybody. That's my right to choose to do what I want to do, huh? And I choose not to.
That's probably you don't go to the facts.
You don't know that, and I'm gonna be honest with you. You'd be surprised at how many people listen to what you're saying and listen to the conversations that we have. And the good news is people can make their own judgment.
You act like you don't know what Trump is calling all these rich folks and all these billionaires and things. This man is selling the country. You act like you don't know it because you don't want to know. You just want to try to sit up there and find out a way to down the Democrats and
you don't hear me now. If you want to hear somebody down the Democrats, you listen to Chris Plant. You don't hear me. I don't take that tone.
You're looking for something to fit your narrative. That's it.
What's that?
You're looking for something that fits your narrative.
No, you're just repeating what you've heard said. So look, don't insult my intelligence, and that's what you do half the time. You and a lot of other people. That's an insult to my intelligence. Anybody with common sense, there's a student of history and politics knows. I know political theater when I see it and hear it.
If you can't sit there and tell me what I'm saying is false, who do I have the problem?
You. Look, I got to get ready to take this last break, and I've entertained you for far too long. Let me let you make your closing remark.
See, the thing about it is, you don't want to go and look and find the truth. You will find that I'm telling you. Well, you look at the facts. Find that I will be telling the truth on Donald Trump and this regime he got right now. He's not serious about none of this stuff. How do you want to get rid of fraud? How do you want to get rid of the drugs and you're letting the kingpins out? It doesn't make any sense. Now tell me how that makes sense to me.
Well, you made your point. Thank you for calling. Have a good day. And I will take this break, and we'll be back with more after this.
This is a public service announcement test from TakeMeFishing.org to determine if you need a fishing license and boat registration before heading out on the water. Let's begin. Are you a bear? Do you have a beak? Does your name rhyme with bald beagle? Do you dart in front of cars? Here's a tough one. Do you have plumage? Do you rub your body against things to mark them? Do you have wet feet? No, I mean like were you hatched? Do you have fur? I'm not talking back hair. Does your boat fly south for the winter with the other boats? Regardless of how you answer, you need to be licensed and registered because it helps local conservation efforts protect the very natural resources you enjoy boating and fishing in for generations to come. Do your part at TakeMeFishing.org.
Good morning. I'm Jen Davis from the WSFA 12 Newsroom. Here's what's happening on this Monday, Groundhog's Day. With the brutally cold weather, folks were trying to stay warm over the weekend. It was a busy weekend for the Montgomery Fire Department. It responded to 3 fires in a 12-hour span. The first fire happened Saturday night off Rosa Parks Avenue. That fire was contained with no injuries. Then early Sunday morning, crews responded to a second fire at a vacant building off the Eastern Boulevard. A third fire happened around 7:45 Sunday morning off Erskine Street. A one-story home was engulfed in flames. All the fires are under investigation. No word on any injuries. The Mardi Gras season is officially underway, and the festivities kicked off this weekend in Mobile with the Conde Cavaliers Parade. More than 40 parades will roll until Tuesday, February 17th, which is Fat Tuesday. Thousands of people are expected to head to the port city leading up to the big day. Mardi Gras started in Mobile back in 1703. That's your news on this Monday.
Year 1490 WHBV Monday weather, sunny and warmer today. Get out and enjoy it. A high of 55 this afternoon. The clouds make their way right back in here tonight. We'll drop down to just at the freezing mark, a low of 32. Partly cloudy tomorrow, warming up to the mid-60s, a 20% chance of afternoon showers, increasing to a 90% chance of showers tomorrow night. For Wednesday, a 20% chance before noontime, otherwise cloudy with a high near 50. Wednesday night, cloudy, a low near 30. And for Thursday, sunny but chilly with a high in the upper 40s. That's a look at your latest weather forecast. Thank you for listening in to Selma's Edition at Entertainment Station. You are tuned to AM 1490 WHBB.
1490 WHBB. One of the callers earlier mentioned the fact that they wish that we would know more when schools like Keith, for instance, performing in the Mardi Gras in Mobile last year. I remember that. But what has happened over the last decade, for sure, is that many of the organizations where they used to send out press releases and they used to notify the media, a lot of them have stopped doing that because of social media. And they feel like they can be more effective by utilizing social media. Before the internet and before social media became popular, for years, I advocated to nonprofit organizations to be independent of mainstream media in addition to sending out press releases and notifications, to also have your own method. But the pendulum has swung to the other extreme. And so now it's also, in many cases, not everybody, but what I've noticed though is the organizations that are most effective and many times the events that are most successful are the ones that utilize all of them. So, it is very time consuming to track down all of these different organizations. And so, and with me, I have to target certain groups. I'll target one or two, but the time that it takes, it's not practical. I think is the word that I'm looking for. It's impractical. And so now these days, my time, media-wise, I am developing historical documents and historical pieces and historical components that look at history. And so my time, time is the one thing that we can't get back. And so I'm very selective about how I use my time. And if I decide not to do anything with it, it's my time to not do anything. So, and all that's all I can say. So the media landscape has changed significantly since the advent of the internet and social media. It's 9 o'clock.
Protest in Minnesota. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and this one targets. They're demonstrating outside the retailer's headquarters on the new CEO's first